Rebuild trust after betrayal, the 5 levels most never reach. You don't just lose trust in someone else when you're betrayed, you lose trust in your own perception of reality. In your judgment, in your ability to feel safe inside your own life, and that is the part no one prepares you for. Because betrayal is not just an event, it is a fracture in meaning. A moment where what you believed, and what was true split apart, and in that gap, something unsettling is born. Doubt. Not just about them but about yourself. How did I not see it? Was any of it real? Can I ever trust again? These questions don't just haunt you, they reshape you. There is a concept, echoed in both trauma psychology and ancient philosophy, that trust is not something you give to others. It is something you generate within yourself. A state of coherence between what you see, what you feel, and what you allow. When betrayal happens, that coherence collapses, and rebuilding trust is not about returning to who you were before. That version of you is gone. The question is whether you can become someone deeper, someone who sees more clearly, loves more consciously, and trusts without illusion. To understand this, we need to move through the 5 levels of rebuilding trust. Not as steps you check off, but as transformations of awareness. And here's the truth most people never confront: they never move past the early levels. They either shut down completely or they rush to forgive without understanding. And in both cases, the wound remains, quiet, unresolved, and waiting to repeat itself. Let's begin. Level 1. Level 1 is the level of rupture. This is the moment everything breaks, the discovery, the realization, and the instant where the story you believed shatters. At this level, your system goes into shock. Psychologically, this is a trauma response. Your brain struggles to reconcile 2 conflicting realities: the person you trusted and the person who betrayed you. This creates cognitive dissonance, and your mind tries to resolve it in extreme ways. They were never real, it was all a lie, I can never trust anyone again. Emotionally, this stage is chaotic, with waves of anger, grief, and confusion. Moments of numbness followed by overwhelming pain. You replay conversations, search for missed signs, try to reconstruct the past to make sense of the present. The hidden trap here is permanence. Believing that what you feel now is what you will always feel. That the pain is proof that trust is impossible. But pain is not prophecy, it is information. What moves you to the next level is not time alone, it is grounding. You begin to stabilize your nervous system, you create space between the event and your identity. You stop asking why did this happen to me and begin asking what is happening inside me right now. That shift brings you to level 2. Level 2. Level 2 is the level of protection. This is where you build walls, not consciously but instinctively. Psychologically, your mind is trying to prevent future harm, so it becomes hypervigilant. You analyze everything: tone of voice, timing of messages, and small inconsistencies that most people would ignore. You tell yourself you're being careful, but beneath that is fear. Emotionally, this stage feels safer but also lonelier. You are less exposed but also less connected. Even if you stay in the relationship, you are no longer fully present. Part of you is always watching, always scanning for danger. The hidden trap here is control disguised as healing. You believe that if you monitor closely enough, if you guard yourself strongly enough, you can prevent betrayal from happening again. But control does not create trust, it creates tension and eventually distance. What shifts you forward is a difficult realization that safety cannot come from constant vigilance. It has to come from internal stability. You begin to loosen the grip not by becoming naive but by recognizing that no amount of control can guarantee certainty. And in that uncertainty a new possibility emerges. Level 3. Level 3 is the level of understanding. This is where the story deepens. You begin to explore not just what happened but why. Not to justify the betrayal but to understand the dynamics that allowed it. Psychologically, this is where you move from reaction to reflection. You examine patterns, communication gaps, unspoken needs, personal boundaries that were unclear or ignored. And importantly, you also look at yourself not with blame but with honesty. Where did you override your intuition? Where did you avoid difficult conversations? Where did you settle for less than you needed? Emotionally, this stage is complex. There is still pain but also moments of clarity. Moments where things begin to make sense in a way they didn't before. The hidden trap here is intellectualization. You can understand everything and still not heal. You can analyze the relationship perfectly and still carry the same emotional wound into the next one. Understanding is not transformation, it is preparation. What shifts you forward is emotional processing. You allow yourself to feel what you've been trying to explain away, the anger, the grief, the loss of what you thought the relationship was. You stop rushing to closure, and instead you sit with the truth. And in that space, something begins to soften. Level 4 emerges. Level 4. Level 4 is the level of rebuilding. This is where trust begins to take form again. Not as blind belief but as conscious choice. If you are rebuilding with the same person, this stage requires something rare: mutual accountability, consistent action, and radical honesty. Trust is no longer assumed, it is demonstrated over time, through behavior that aligns with words. Psychologically, this is where new neural patterns are formed. Your brain begins to update its expectations based on repeated, reliable experiences. Emotionally, this stage is fragile. Hope returns but cautiously. There are moments of connection followed by moments of doubt. Progress is not linear, and that can be frustrating. The hidden trap here is impatience. Wanting trust to be restored quickly and wanting the relationship to feel like it did before, but it cannot. Because you are not the same person and neither are they. What shifts you forward is acceptance, not of the betrayal but of reality. You accept that trust now looks different, more intentional, more aware, and less naive. And from that acceptance, a deeper form of connection becomes possible. Which leads to Level 5. Level 5. Level 5 is the level of transcendence. This is where trust evolves beyond the other person and becomes something internal. At this stage, you realize something profound. Trust was never about guaranteeing that you would not be hurt. It was about knowing that you could handle the truth whatever it turned out to be. Psychologically, this is integration. You no longer split the world into safe and unsafe people, you understand complexity, you allow for uncertainty without losing your sense of self. Emotionally, there is a quiet strength. You are open but not dependent. Connected but not attached to illusions. The hidden trap here is subtle. It is the temptation to detach completely, to convince yourself that you don't need anyone. That independence is the safest path. But true transcendence is not isolation, it is connection without fear. At this level, you trust not because someone has proven they will never hurt you, but because you trust yourself to respond if they do. To set boundaries, to walk away, to stay, if it aligns with your values. Trust becomes an inner anchor, not an external gamble. And from that place, love changes. It becomes less about certainty and more about presence. Now pause, because this journey is not theoretical, it is personal. And the most important question is not whether trust can be rebuilt, it can. The question is where you are in the process. Ask yourself, am I still reliving the moment of betrayal as if it's happening now? Am I protecting myself so much that I've stopped truly connecting? Do I understand what happened, or am I avoiding what I feel about it? Am I expecting trust to return quickly instead of allowing it to rebuild naturally? Do I trust myself to handle the truth, even if it hurts? These questions are not meant to rush you. They are meant to locate you, because healing does not happen by accident. It happens through awareness, through willingness, and through the courage to stay present with what is uncomfortable. Some people will carry betrayal like a permanent scar, letting it define every future relationship. Others will pretend it didn't matter, rushing into forgiveness without depth. But a few will use it as a threshold, a moment that forces them to see more clearly, to love more consciously, to trust not blindly but wisely. So rebuilding trust is not about going back, it is about going deeper, into yourself, into your patterns, into your capacity to hold both pain and possibility at the same time. And in that depth, something unexpected happens, trust returns. Not as it was but as something stronger, something quieter, something real. So take a moment. Be honest with yourself. And if you're willing, comment the level you believe you are currently in. Not the one you wish you were in, not the one that sounds the most evolved, but the one that feels true right now. Because that truth is where your healing begins.